I want to talk to you today about the Graviflyer. We just did the Colorado experiment. I just showed you exactly how to make the mud conductive by using the wire down the center of the Tesla coil and pulling cold energy out and putting it into the ground. Now, we need to create a circuit out of that so we can use the ground as capacitance in order to fill up the Graviflyer with the right type of energy. You see, we're looking to pull Earth's energy out, not just AC and DC, but Earth's energy. It's important because we want to move within Earth's field. We need the energy of the Earth itself. Now, how are we going to do this? We all know a traditional Tesla coil runs up and down in its frequency. What you don't understand is it's creating a pump. It'll pull from the bottom of the number 2 coil and push it out the top of the number 2 coil. So we can see it coming out the top. Most people don't understand that when you put the number 2 coil directly into the ground as the negative, it's pulling from the ground itself. It gives you 20% more power to your Tesla coil. We're going to start to use that as an advantage. Now, we're going to connect our wire that comes out of the top of the Tesla coil that does not connect to anything else. It just runs down the center of it. We're going to connect that to the center plate of our Graviflyer. This is where the understanding is going to start to come in. We also grounded our Tesla coil into the ground. Now the ground is going to connect from the ground of the Tesla coil through the ground to the bottom of our Graviflyer. Now we have our loop. We now have a continuous loop, which is a semi-open loop only because the wire that comes to the center of the Graviflyer is not directly connected to the Tesla coil, but does go down the center. So, we're going to use the Tesla coil as a pump. As it oscillates up and down, it's going to create the pumping action. It's going to pull energy directly into our Graviflyer. We are now pulling Earth's energy into our Graviflyer. We have our traditional fields being met when the Graviflyer runs. We still have the field on the outside with the Tesla coil, and we have the field on the inside with the 2 spinning plates and the high voltage that goes into that. Again, we're running that high voltage down so far that we're barely getting any heat. But the heat's an important part in this. Temperature is so important in a cold energy circuit because it's the draw. It allows us to pull in the cold into the Graviflyer itself. That's why it's called a cold energy circuit. That's why we're pulling the Earth energy. We're actually forcing that into our Graviflyer. Now we matched it. If you want to do a traditional UFO later, you're going to have to understand how this works. When you do, you're going to be able to match the energy of any planet that you go to based on this knowledge. Now, we use it in our circuit in order to fill up the field. It expels everything else out of it and creates a bubble onto itself. That's the most important part of the Graviflyer. Without that, you have no lift. We are simply creating the correct type of energy in our Graviflyer. One of the most important parts. Now, let's move on to the piezoelectric disc. Why is this part important? In any cold energy circuit, if I want to double the amount of energy in it, I use a piezoelectric disc and I pulse it. As soon as I pulse it, that amount of energy increases by double. So, as we do this, when we have our pump running in a traditional circle, we simply tap it. We're drawing the energy higher. We're sucking in more energy at that point. Every time we have a higher rise, we have a higher or a lower fall. What does that mean? It means that right here we're building it out bigger. We're sucking it in faster. Building it out bigger, sucking it in faster. We're increasing the size of our bubble every time we do it. Now we have a bubble that builds out further. Now we can start affecting things around it. The bubble will build out in fields. It'll go one field closest to it, another field, and another field. Things will get trapped inside the fields on the outside the less energy that they get. Now, you may say that's pretty interesting. Well, it happens on our Earth all the time. We are just mimicking that in order to create something that works inside the Earth's field itself. That's why it's important. Now we can use that in order to pull the energy into our Graviflyer. Now we have the correct energy on our Graviflyer. We're hitting resonance on our Graviflyer. Now we're getting the closer to lift. It's one of the key factors in the Graviflyer. As a matter of fact, it is the key factor in making this thing lift. All the other parts play a small role in this, but if you do not have this, nothing else works. Please understand, the Graviflyer is a field generator. That's what it does. The fact that it happens to fly is a plus to a field generator, but it is a field generator. That is its main purpose. That is what it does. But because it creates those fields, it gives it an ability in order to lift. You have to start understanding this thing as a field generator, then the rest of it starts to make sense. If I were to build a traditional UFO, I probably would not use this design at all unless I wanted to create the fields around the craft. Then it would do its job and work perfectly. I hope you guys understand this. I'm trying to bring you guys up to speed on the next couple of tests we're going to do, but you got to understand this loop. If you don't understand how we're creating the loop in order to get the energy into it, none of it will make sense. It has to be cold energy going into it. The only heat that goes into this system comes from our DC flyback. That is the only heat that goes into the system. The rest of it is cold. And if you put too much energy from the DC flyback, you automatically start to use the energy in the system of the cold energy. You'll be defeating the purpose immediately. That's not a good thing. We do not want to do that. That's why the heat is relatively low in the flyback. That's why you don't put a ton of energy into that. You put very little into that, but you want to create a tremendous amount of cold energy in the circuit. Then we go and amplify that. That's why the Graviflyer is so important. It's going to start to teach you about cold energy and how it works. I hope you guys understand this, because the next couple of things we're going to talk about in this series is going to go way beyond that. Anyway, thank you for your time today, and have a great day.